这些人要么丢失了，要么找不着了，要么被抓了，要么进在监狱里，要么自杀了。而且绝大多数人都有一个共同的死法，叫堕落死。因为那里有一个独裁的政党，叫共产党。海航是代表共产党在西方的一个间谍平台、洗钱平台和对西方政治进行蓝金黄的渗透平台。
1年多已经卖了3500多亿，是全世界数第1号。
Over 2 events, one that happened in London earlier in the spring, and then one that happened in Turkey several weeks ago. The one in the spring was the poisoning of Russian dissidents or Russian citizens in London. And the one the last couple of weeks was looks like the killing of a Washington Post columnist, Khashoggi, in Turkey. And both these situations, as tragic as they were, created an international media firestorm. Well, what we're here today, and Miles Guo is going to walk you through, is something that's quite frankly stunning. Literally hundreds, if not thousands, of the best and the brightest of the Chinese people are either missing, have been imprisoned, have committed suicide, have died under mysterious circumstances, or have had their assets taken from them and are impoverished. And the world's media today has not connected the dots, or there's literally been no outrage. Now, this is not 1 or 2 isolated cases, and these are not people who are not insignificant in media, in their corporate life, in the financial life, in government, in the military. It's across the board, and it's men and it's women. It is absolutely stunning that this could go on in a culture, a global culture that's connected by media, and there's literally crickets. Well, that ends today. And it ends because one man's prepared to stand up and say, he's not prepared to tolerate this, and he will use every asset at his disposal to bring truth to this, to make sure the Chinese people do not come under any more assault as they're already coming from the Chinese Communist Party and the senior leadership of the CCP. Today is about recklessness and accountability. As many people in the world, and particularly in the world's financial centers, are starting to understand, the Chinese Communist Party and the senior leadership of the CCP have acted financially recklessly over the last 10, 15, or 20 years. And that printing of currency and increasing of debt and everything that that's causing and will cause in the future, I believe in a coming financial crisis, can be seen in the example that Miles Guo is going to walk through today. We have one of the, if not the largest financial company in the world, that has essentially been created from a very small company, and from 2014 to 2018 became, I think, arguably the largest financial company in the world, with the aid and support of major Western financial institutions and major financial players in the West. And the question has to be, how reckless was this? Who benefited from this? Who owns this? Who took these assets from the Chinese people? Who profited off this? Who looked the other way?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the episode 16 of the Legal Battle of the Century. I'm your host, Rachel, and I also have KK with me. KK, do you want to say hello? Oh, sorry, not KK, Nicole. Nicole.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, hi, Rachel, and hi, KK. Nice to be back. Yeah.
Yes, I always have KK with me because KK is the OBS supporter. So she has to be in the room, otherwise you will not hear my voice and Nicole's voice. So it's very nice to have Nicole again on the show. So we'll continue our topic where we left about the death of Wang Jian. And I have to make a correction because last time I noticed I made a mistake. Wang Jian is dying in 2018, not 2017. So as we go along today, we will review that slides again, and I will mention that again. So again, today we prepare a lot of heavy lifting, and you will have to think with us. If you have accumulated some understanding about how the inner workings, the political struggle of the CCP in the past few episodes, starting from episode 10 all the way to this episode today, you will have a basic background. So today I'm gonna link everything for you, and I'm not gonna hand you the whole thing. I'm not gonna hand you the conclusion, but I need you to think with me. So today we're gonna do a little bit of heavy lifting. If you like puzzle, if you like solving problems, I think you would like today's episode with me and Nicole. And again, we're not talking about the actual death of Wang Jian. We're talking about the months and the years prior to Wang Jian's death. And what are the things that sending some hints regarding who actually murdered Wang Jian and why he has to die. Okay, so that's gonna be our focus today. So it's gonna be a very interesting episode. I'm every time I'm talking about this make my minds turning and churning, which I like it. So I hope you like it too. So anyway, slides number 2. That's the topic we're on. We're on the white gloves fate, the death of Wang Jian, which we're gonna turn into probably 4 episodes, and today is episode number 2 on that topic. So slides number 3, that's where we end pretty much last episode. And that's where I made a mistake. I was saying that Wang Jian died in 2017, but it wasn't. Okay, so 2017, it was the first year that H&A, the huge conglomerate, sponsored the Open France, which is a golf tournament. Okay, so they started 6 million or 7 million US dollars, or equal to 6 million euro at the time, to basically naming the event. And 2018, when Wang Jian went to the France province for sightseeing, for vacation. I mean, a lot of the report later on, Nicole talking about, are referring he's on a business trip, but the language we're using is he's on a vacation, because really it's not a, they're titled, they're named events, but he's there really just to enjoy himself rather than, doing business, but maybe they can do some side business when he was there. So anyway, but this was his last trip in anywhere, because he died on the morning, noomish, on July 3rd, 2018, which is the second year that H&A has sponsored the Open France golf tournaments. So now, without further ado, I'm gonna let Nicole talk about the media reports. What are the series, how Wang Jian died, reported publicly by the world media? So Nicole.
Thank you, Rachel. And I would like to mention a few things about this slide. And I think it's very interesting because I did not know this. And when I see like H&A becomes title partner of the French Open from 2017, and then what I'm thinking about, it is in France, right? This is the French company. The French Open, yeah. Then I'm thinking about 2018, a year after, and also in France, Provence, and that is where Wang Jian died. So is this just coincidence, or is there already a killing plan? That is the questions coming into my mind. And yeah,
Plan for long term to executing something, especially like a CCP. Yeah.
I think the good thing about your show is you're really giving us all these puzzles and all the dots, and since once you see all these puzzles, you started to naturally you bring them all together and you can see the whole picture, I think. And then I think different medias they reported Wang Jian's death, Reuters and Reuters Paris, and they said like. It's like they dismissing, like saying he's more likely committed suicide, and then the thing is the France Daily Liberation, they are saying they said that eyewitness accounts contradicted the police investigations findings. One witness, a local street cleaner, said Wang Jin jumped rather than fell. So another kind of report says like it is he committed suicide. But if you look at the Wikipedia and something I read, and it's kind of like what Rachel said, and he took a sightseeing detour with his colleagues in Borneo and a hilltop village in the region of Provence, and he climbed onto a low wall above a cliff and had his picture taken, and but lost his balance and fell backward, and from about in Wikipedia, it says about 15 meters high wall, and he was pronounced dead a few hours later. And then, according to the French media reports, eyewitnesses of the incident said the one died by jumping off the wall, so committed suicide. But French police denied these claims, and so it's otherwise. So I think in Wikipedia that's some of the information you can find. And then I think a spokeswoman for the national Grand Mary told Reuters only Liberation and its journalists believed this thesis of suicide, and we stand by our investigation's conclusion that this was an accident death. Yeah.
Kind of giving a authoritarian kind of a take on what indeed happened. They're saying that this is an accidental fall from a picture taken, from just intent to take a picture, standing on the short wall, and then accidentally fell off on his back. So you can imagine we're talking about a chairman of the one of the biggest organization in China, and also among the 500 global 500 Fortune. I think it was 170s. That's their best ranking, or even higher. I can't remember exactly the ranking, but they are huge, right? They have a 400 entity. They're huge conglomerate. They're crossing various industries like finance, airline, transportation, you name it. They're in that kind of industries. And this chairman has been working for Hainan Airline, HNA Group, for 25 years. And he has been flying nonstop on his private jets, which we already showed you in our previous show, that 787 that HNA purchased. For his leasing business. But really, all we know, who is the only group of people that use that plane? That's Wang Qishan and his gang, including Wang Jian. So he has toured pretty much everywhere on planet Earth. And to be honest, if you look at the place that he was taking photo of and what's behind it, there's not even a good view for the scenery. And why would he jumped on the short wall, which is 1.2 meters high, and just for taking a photo? I think there's a lot of questions should be asked here. I don't know how you feel, Nicole, in terms of taking a scenery. I mean, we've watched a lot of videos, from the investigations team, from a team sent by Miles. Like, there's really nothing there. That's not the perfect place to look for those. What would you call that flower? What's the famous flower in France?
Lavender in Provence.
Lavender, yes. You can look at lavender fields and you can take photo. That's not even the spot. The spot is somewhere else. But this is raising a question. But let's take a look at the wall. We wouldn't spend a lot of time, because next episode we will spend some detailed. We will spend lots of time detailed those ins and outs for you. But that was for the next show, next week. But here, I just want to show you the place that alleged by the reporter from Reuters and from any other media report that Wang Jian fell. So on the left, you will see, okay, this is a kind of a terrace, people, there's a few people standing there. I'm not sure, they're probably watching or whatever. The short wall on the right, where I marked the red ink, it says 1.2 meter, and that is exactly where those folks are standing on the left. Okay, so you can see these folks are standing, and the wall to protect them from fall, it's only 1.2 meters high. It's not too bad, right? For most of the folks, I think 1.2 is still, do the work. It will protect you from you falling. But unless people are alleging that Wang Jian wants to jump on it and take photo, that's a different story. But if you're just merely standing and appreciating whatever you look over, then you'll be safe. And you can see from the left, the stairs is actually gradually going down. That means there are points of this wall, along the wall will be the highest, right? Will be the most dangerous for people if you actually fall, right? So that's the point. There is a number, it's number 8 meters on the right-hand side. That was marked by one of the fellow fighters who later on visited the same spots. She was not one of the 6 investigative team that Miles sent over to France right after the accident. Okay, she wasn't one of them. She went there, I think it was 2020, and she took this photo, and she kind of estimated the deepest, the highest falling distance from the top to the bottom. And because her estimation, she put it at 8 meters, but we heard, Nicole, you just said it was 15 meters, because we don't know who is saying the truth. I've never been there. I mean, I don't know whether the audience has never been there. When you're listening to us, you will be the ultimate judge. We don't know from 8 meters to 15 meters because we don't have exactly, we didn't measure it, so I don't know. But somewhere between maybe is the better truth. I don't know. But we leave that to you. But for that deepest fall, you only have that width of 2 meters, so which is a kind of purplish ink marked. So if Wang Jian is standing there and fall, that's the most dangerous because that's the highest point, only 2 meters wide. Because if you keep going the other way, then you will see on the left, the height become shrinks. The height become less and less. It's less likely you will fall and you will die. Okay, so that's what we just want to give you that information in this episode, but we will come back in the next episode to talk a little more details about Wang Jian's death. So let's flip to the next slides, and then Nicole, you go ahead. This is what happened to Wang Jian before he died in 2015.
Okay. So I think before I mention this one, I want to briefly say something happening in 2017 and the April the 19th, the VOA interruption of live broadcasting of Miles Guo's broadcasting, basically, because he started to reveal all the truth about Wang Qishan and the Yao Ying family and HNA. Right after that, in order to hide from the public, so HNA staggered and adjusted their shareholding structure. So on July the 24th, 2017, so the guilty HNA group did disclose for the first time the equity structure and equity donation, and so you can see this chart, and and from this, you can see an actual controller of the HNA group are 2 major Cihang funds. One is the Hainan Cihang Charity Fund, and registered in New York in 2016, and the other one is the Hainan Cihang Fund registered in Hainan in 2010, and then holding 22.75% of the share, and followed by Chen Fe and Wang Jian. They both hold 14.98% of the shares. Okay, I think that is the change. And then Wang Qishan's illegitimate son Guan Jun disappeared from the shareholder list, and then okay. So next thing is, it's interesting, is there's an announcement from the HNA group. They stated that the two major Cihang funds registered in Hainan and New York were non-profit organizations, and all existing shares were donated by shareholders. The announcement also clearly stated, so here is the important thing, based on the personal commitment of all shareholders to donate all their shares to the foundation upon resignation or death. So if they die or if they quit their job, okay, all the shareholding ratio of Cihang Foundation in HNA Group will continue to increase. Ultimately, HNA Group will be held by charitable organizations. In short, the future HNA Group will attribute 100% to the Cihang funds. And I think Mao School already said, and the charitable organization, and he said, HNA is trying to cover the truth that New York Cihang is a private fund rather than a charitable public welfare fund. And sorry, it's a little bit long, sorry. So at a board meeting of HNA Group, Wang Jian said that every executive can enjoy the benefits of the equity donated by the group. But when he dies, the equity must be donated back to the Cihang Fund. He mentioned that. And then in 2015, like we said, actually, Wang Jian already signed the shareholders' donation commitment letter. And so I think afterwards, his life was in great danger.
People might have a question because you just said the Hainan Cihang Foundation in New York was established in 2016, but he's already signed the donation in 2015. So just so you know, so the Hainan Cihang register, there's two parts of the charity. One is within the Hainan province, which is in China, and that body is established in 2010. Okay, so if there's any donation happened prior to the American fund, established, then they would donate to the Hainan Cihang Foundation. So yeah, you have that. It's actually on the picture. It's 2010. So, okay, so let's take a look. So we're gonna move on. So we're gonna move on from the December 2015 to what's happened right before 2 or 3 months ago, right before Wang Jian's death. This is kind of we're going to spend lots of time in this particular area. And if you wanted to learn more about the ownership change, I think in the previous episode we've talked, in episode 13, 14, 15, all mentioned about it. So if you want to take a look at the details, then you can go to the previous episode. But let's go to the slides number 8. So the slide number 8, there's a magazine picture of the cover of the magazine. It's called 中国经济周刊, so China Economic Weekly. Okay, so it's basically bi-weekly publication. Bi-month. So twice publications in a month. So this is 2018 and 27 episodes. I think it's the 27th issue of that magazine, and one of the item in their table of contents is an article written and published in July. Okay, so this journal is published in July, I think 9th or 10th, so right after Wang Jian's death. But in this article, they mentioned that he said, more than 2 months ago, we had an exclusive interview with HNA Wang Jian. So this is one of the title articles in that July-ish, the 27th issues of that magazine. So if you go on to search that issue, you can still find it online. But when you click on that particular exclusive interview on their website, it will lead you to 404 not found. So the link is broken. So that means you cannot find this article through this way. Okay, but I've managed to find it because there's a lot of other newspaper website to kind of recite this article after July. So that's where we find the articles, not on the original place. But here I just wanted to make sure people understand the interview they did. Okay, it happened on April 12th. not July. Although the article was published after Wang Jian's death, but the interview actually happened more than 2 months ago. And it was happened in the I think one of the buildings that owned by the H&M. It's the 30th floor in the H&M building in Hankou City. That's where the interview took place. And when the reporter interviewed H&A, it was not just the Wang Jian. It was a group of people. Wang Jian's, the people who reports to Wang Jian, also the senior management also was sitting there and attended the same interview. And this interview lasted for almost 4.5 hours, according to the reporter. Okay, so it's a very lengthy interview. Okay, so but however, from the articles that we find reciting from this issue of the China Economic Weekly, it's only a few, maybe 100 words, 1,000 words the most. It's not a lot. So obviously a lot of was talk about in that interview got, sacked or whatever, cut short. But anyway, from what the words, the limited words that Wang Jian said and published by the Economic Weekly Review, I think that's bury the lead. So we wanted to dig more and help you to understand why he has to die. Because according to Miles, and I believe that too, through all the evidence I've reviewed, that Wang Jian probably knew that he is finished and he must, died at that time. He probably already knew, and Miles has said he knew. He has that inks already, and I found the evidence, which I'm going to walk you through. Me and Nicole would walk you through and show you why we say that, why we believe that. Okay, and one more thing about this interview is this is the only interview Wang Jian has ever done in his 25 years at the HNA. Okay, he never accepted any interview request, but this is a exception. And that's why people among the HNA, they're surprised, the internal PR firm, like a communications team, surprised when Wang Jian decided to accept an interview from China Economic Weekly. And one more thing, let's go to the slides number 9. And one more thing here I want you to think about it is, for a lot of you, you might not understand what is this magazine. So I searched a little bit because I had the same question in my mind when I just started. I wanted to see why this magazine. Is there any particular thing that I need to pay attention to about this particular magazine? Because I never heard of it. Okay, and no wonder I never heard of it because I Baidu'd it, which Baidu is a equivalent of Google in China. Okay, so if we wanted to find something on internet, it's a search engine. We go to Baidu because Google is banned. Okay, so we can only use Baidu, which is CCP's controlled company. So according to this Baidu information, China Economic Weekly was founded in 1994. And it's a comprehensive economic magazine focusing on politics, and economics, sponsored by the head of People's Daily. Okay, People's Daily, you probably already know who People's Daily is, right? People's Daily is basically the go-to CCP mouthpiece. They basically sending the, below the wind to the rest of the country for propaganda work. So if you want to listen to the supreme leader of China, what he's saying and thinking, you better look to the People's Daily. Okay, so they're sponsored by People's Daily, so they're purely, political or propaganda for sure. And this is economic journals designated by National People's Congress, and National People's Congress are the official mainstream financial media in China. Again, in the previous episode, we talked about how Chinese political system works, how those various organs works. The National People's Congress is a rubber stamp. They're just they're just appear on the top of the ice, but they do not have any function other than just raising their head, yes and nay, and that's it. And then the next paragraph, it says China Economic Weekly is positioned as a economic reference for leadership decision making. Okay, here we go. So that's why I'm not the reader. And the next sentence come after that, which I put a box in it because this is hugely important. It says its core readers. So who are reading? Who are the people? Who are the readership? Who are the people that they're trying to intend to reach? They say the core readers are government and enterprise leaders and decision makers. That's why me and Nicole, like people like us, like the Prolos, we probably would not read this magazine. Okay, and this magazine provides the most authoritative and forward-looking information and news and information for central, local, and enterprise leaders. Okay, so Nicole, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to check with you. What are you thinking right now?
I think you found a very important piece of information, I think. And I think it's so easy to just ignore this part. I think it's very important puzzle. Like you said, it's like I think I probably when I was back in China, I think I probably in a magazine, those vendors, I saw the magazine, but I would definitely not buy any of those magazines. So I'm not a reader, and so I won't read it. But the thing is, like Wang Jian, why he choose to be interviewed by them, or maybe someone choose for him. And I think, but anyway, Wang Jian wants to be heard. I think he wants to be heard by the right people, and the people is not us, normal people, 老百姓. I think it is like the core readers are the government, enterprise leaders, and decision makers, because he can't make decisions. Although he is the CEO, he has the shares, but he is still the white gloves. So he's working for kleptocrats. So I think he wants to be heard. Or even if it's like he was forced to do the interview, we'll talk about this later. I think probably he still will try to send some message out, because I think when people, before people die, I think they all can sense it one way or another, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's great. That's right. So that's why I posed a question here, because as you said, he accepted interview, very first time in 25 years. Did he actually absolutely made that decision, or did he was compelled or pushed by someone else behind? That's for discussion. We can discuss that later. But here, I want everybody to think about this question. So why did Wang Jian do an interview with the CCP major mouthpiece, China Economic Weekly, amidst mounting pressure from home and abroad regarding the ownership of HNA? This is where I want to tie into the background information that we have been, sharing with you in the previous number of episodes. Like we've talked about, 2017 Miles starting, whistleblowing in January 26th. And then Nicole mentioned about the 419 events, right? The VOA abruptly cut off the live interview with Miles, right, not even in the middle, only 1 hour through the supposed to be 3-hour interview, right? As right at the moment before Miles said, I'm going to explode something about Wang Qishan, the vice president of China, and then suddenly it was cut off. So all of this coming together is HNA was under pressure, okay? And we will show you again what kind of pressure they were under. This is, before we dive to the details about interview, I want to give you another piece of information just to help you to prepare to think what the information you're going to receive the next. So let's take a look at slides number 10. So slide number 10, the two people's relationship are the key, okay? So when Wang Qishan feels safe, then his white gloves is safe. When Wang Qishan feels he's threatened, especially the threats coming from external, internal from CCP, or from anywhere else, such as whistleblower movement or Miles, he will be worried. Okay, he will be irritated, and he will be scared, and he needs to do something, and that something could be taking someone's life. Okay, so let's take a look at this a little bit. So kind of a refresh your mind in terms of what kind of a political struggling and inner workings of the CCP and the relationship between these two. And these two are Xi, the leader of the CCP parties right now, and the president of the People's Republic of China, and also Wang Qishan, the vice president at this time. He still is, but who knows? He will. I'm pretty much thinking that he will finish after the 20th National Congress that's coming October. I think only just 2 weeks away, literally, October 16th. So 2012, she was chosen, as I mentioned previously, she was chosen as the leader of the party. At that time, I also mentioned he was a rookie, and he doesn't have a very deep roots into the CCP's, a lot of areas. He doesn't. He considered young and inexperienced. But at that time, Wang Qishan, if you recall, Wang Qishan was the premier. The vice premier. Yeah, vice premier or premier. I can't remember. In 2008 and 1998. He's already starting, his career. I think it's in 1998 or something. I can't remember. I could be wrong. Maybe I double check later on. But very early on, he has become the, 2005. Yeah, if I remember correctly, he was becoming the 2005. So he had a number of years ahead of Xi. So he's already established his roots in the CCP, and particularly his father-in-law is Yao Yiling. Right? Because we mentioned so much about Yao Yiling and chosen that Wang Qishan as the heir. So Wang Qishan is a more confident, and people are looking up to him, especially he's controlling the financial and commercial commerce in China for a number of years, for decades actually already, starting with the Construction Bank of China at that time. So he was chosen by Xi as the head of the CCDI, which stands for Central Committee of Discipline and Inspection, which is the leader of anti-corruption campaign that Xi started when he took power in 2012. And the reason why Xi picked him, I think really, this is my own speculation, because they were a little bit they were quite close, I should say. They were quite close when they were young, because they were sending to the same rural area, Yan'an, Shanxi province, to do manual labor during the Cultural Revolution period of time. Okay, and that time Wang Qishan was 20 years old and Xi was 15 years old. So they lived together basically, and then Wang usually visit his dorm and suggest what book you should read, what kind of girlfriend you should chase, At that time, Wang Qishan has already met Yao Yiling's daughter, Yao Mingshan, so they started dating. So you can see the kind of a youth, although they're 5 years age difference, but they kind of close. Okay, so I think she kind of trusted him in the beginning, so that's why she appointed Wang as the head of the CCDI, which is a significant, anti-corruption campaign is a signature for Xi in the first 5 years. So for the first 5 years, from 2012-13 all the way to 2016-17, they were actually doing the anti-corruption. In the previous episode, we also said results of the first 5 years anti-corruption campaign, there's 1.4 million CCP members purged. Okay, because they claim it's a systematic corruption. So it's scary. It's 1.4 million CCP members. And then if you look at the charts next to it, at the bottom part, at the middle charts, it's a Chinese FDI in all U.S. industries from 1990 to December 2020. But if you pay attention to the box that I drew, especially the red box, which marked 3 years, the Chinese money went to abroad for investment. You can see a spike right there. Okay, so in 2016, it's actually as high as almost 50 billion investment. So it tells you, during the anti-corruption campaign, there's a lot of money moving. Okay, especially moving to abroad. And in the previous episode, I think 14 or 13, we said it's not just the United States. We showed you Australia is the same pattern. It's the same year that people start moving assets around, because they see how the other members are falling. As I mentioned to you, in China, there's no private enterprise, right? There's only kleptocrats controlled enterprise. Whether they're state-owned, they're private, they're all kleptocrats controlled. So a lot of white gloves are moving people on behalf of their masters, okay? Because they're scared of Xi, because Xi is gonna be the, doing whole lot of damages to them, and so that's why they're moving money, and you can tell the money is moving coincidence with the anti-corruption year. But by 2017, something happened. We know in the 2014 to 2017, HNA was buy. They had a shopping spree. They're trying to move money and launder money to the other countries like the United States, Europe, and Australia, you name it. And then 2017, she probably sensed something, and probably is because, I shouldn't say probably, primarily is because Miles is whistleblowing. Miles is starting picking a right timing to start his whistleblowing. I think there must be a reason why Miles started in January 2017, because if you look at the other charts I put underneath, which in previous show I also showed you, if you had paid attention, starting 2017 January, there's a new policy enacted by Xi, which he called off some irrational investment area. So he banned, he prohibited, restricted some areas of investment from the Chinese to overseas market. That dotted line, if you extend it, you will see it started in 2017 January. Okay, and that's where Wang Qishan started feeling, not at ease, because he has been purging the 1.4 million CCP members, and he has lots of enemies. And if he if he cannot keep his authority for the next 5 years, sooner or later, she is gonna go after him, because he is the biggest oligarchs among all of them. Okay, he stole the most of money. So he started worrying at that. I truly believe he started worrying, especially, Miles Guo was whistleblowing particularly about him and his cronies. Okay, and because he's the biggest one of the kleptocrats. And I truly believe Miles Guo had a strategy in terms of taking down the CCP, starting from basically, picking up a fight between these two. These two considered close ally once, but now, Miles Guo starting pounding on that relationship and sending them information that could turn them against each other. So I think that's one of the strategy, and that worked really well, because Miles will only tell the truth, and the truth can destroy, because everything Wang did is deception, everything she did is deception. So two liars met together, and nothing can save them. Anyway, so that's truly the year Wang started alarmed. And in 2000, because he's really afraid, because if she start looking at his HNA and looking at how they move money during the prior years, they will find tons of evidence. And the person who actually helped Wang did all those things, signing all those documents and getting loans and purchasing, is Wang Jian. Unfortunately, is the white glove Wang Jian. So that is why in 2018, what happened is Wang ceased to be the head of the CCDI. She picked someone he trusts more, Zhao Leji, to replace Wang. So Wang is no longer holding that important position. He no longer had that power to punish the other CCP members, and he then became the vice president. And this is kind of strange, because the vice president is the only post that she gave to him, because that was a country position, but he does not have any other positions within the CCP party. Usually you will see, they might be also still serving as state council, or assuming some important role in CCP's party line. But very strange, Wang Qishan is just become the vice president, and then his exposure to the outside world starting shrinking. That was starting in 2018. So things happening later actually proved that, because a lot of loyalties of Wang has been jailed, has been trialed, has been locked down. So I'm pretty sure this coming up 20th National Congress, Wang Qishan will not be there, will not be continuing to be vice president. Most likely. I can't say definitely, because I don't know any intelligence. Miles has not said that yet, but we will see what's going to happen, because the fight between Xi and Wang now is getting worse. So and here I want to show you a picture that's that's on slides 11. Here it's a picture snapped on March 2016, March 3rd, 2016, at the opening session of the Chinese political consultative conference. Okay, so what this picture is saying, what you see, the picture is basically Wang Qishan was petting Xi at the back, but and doing the opening session, as basically Wang called out to Xi from behind while putting his hand on the back of the top Chinese leader, Xi, as if talking to a pal. So it shows you how close they were in 2016. And it happened in front of several thousand people after the opening sessions of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. The people who witnessed that was talking to Wang, saying that he should respect the supreme leader more, and he should not doing this backpatting in the public, basically. And this picture, basically, she was leaving the stage and followed by 6 other Politburo Standing Committee members in order. But Wang jumped the order, okay, and patted Xi. So that's the significance of it. So Jiang was not immediately behind Xi when they actually walking, but then Jiang jumped the line and patting it. So by the other members of Xi's inner circle who witnessed the scene were disgruntled with what they've perceived as Wang's arrogant attitude. So this was being publicly reported on newspaper, and you can scan that barcode and reading the whole thing, because I think that newspaper got pretty much accurate. I wouldn't say 100%, but they pretty much get a taste of what the relationship between the different gangs and parties. And then since the last party congress in 2017, a group of Xi's loyalties who served under Xi in Zhejiang province. So Xi used to be the governor of the Zhejiang province from 2002 to 2007. So that's the longest serving governor. Prior to that, he was in Fujian, but it was a lot less than Zhejiang. So he cultivated a group of loyalty to Xi. So they call the Xi loyalties as a Xi family army. In Chinese, was Xi Jiajun, Xi family army. So, and they risen. So after 2016, they rise into power. They more and more become powerful. As I mentioned, in 2018, Zhao Leji was appointed at the head of the CCDI. So the old timer Wang. Okay, the old timer Wang seems to be a delicate entity for those members who rising in power, who those Xi Jiajun, the Xi family army, because they are aiming for further promotions at the next party congress. Okay, so that's why there is a competition between the loyalty of Xi and Wang Qishan at the time. So there would be more people willing to see them parted ways. But anyway, so this is a just subtle picture that caught, on camera. And I just want to share with you how close they were in 2016, but it's no longer the case. But bearing that in mind, knowing that in 2017, HNA was scared. Let's take a look the interview, the actual interview. Okay, so Nicole, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you, Rachel, for just brought the whole picture to us and what happened to us very clearly again. And I think when you mentioned about once Xi and Wang were very close, and I suddenly burst into laughter because I felt, oh my God, I can't believe they were once like even behave like a normal human being, because now when I look at them, I don't feel that at all. I couldn't imagine they were even close, they were friends. And yeah, but I think from what you said, and you can see like in the CCP, all those capital cracks, they're constantly fighting. They're fighting for power because power will bring them the money. And I think like Wang Qishan arranged all the interviews or probably everything he did, and because he wants to show his loyalty to Xi, and because he's powerful and he owns a lot, but he is not the most powerful person. The most powerful person in the CCP controlled China, which is still Xi. So he needs to win his trust more. Yes, I think that's pretty much what I thought about it. Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think you're on the right track. So in that year, let's say 2017, 2018. So Wang is very clear. Wang wants to lay low, right? He doesn't want to be seen as a thorn in the eyes of Xi. Although HNA is too big to not notice. Okay, it's way too big to not get noticed, right? But because they have a good relationship early on, and because he has helped Xi for anti-corruption, killing all those or get rid of all those political opponents. So they kind of have a kind of alliance together. But now, because he's taking too much money and she gets noticed and she called stop. Okay, no more money going outside. So that's Wang is really scared. He's scared of what if she is looking to HNA. Okay, what if he can find more evidence than what's going to happen to me? So let's take a look at the interview of Wang Jian. What did he say to the reporter from the China Weekly, Economic Weekly? So the very first thing, I don't know when along the way in the interview he said that, but on the articles that I find, this jumps in to my eyes, in the first sight. So Wang Jian said, and remember the interview was on April 12, 2018. So HNA has been in business for 25 years. And if it had been clean to any of the oligarchs, HNA would not have survived to this day. Do you see any of the companies that have clung to the oligarchs that are still alive? No way. Okay, Nicole, what do you think? Why he's saying that? What does he really mean? Who are those oligarchs?
Okay, so oligarchs should be like Wang Qishan and his owner, I think, and then when I read this and I thought about it in our last show, you mentioned about Xiao Jianhua, and he just mentioned I was not being kidnapped. So it's kind of like nobody is saying you're clinging onto the oligarchs, but you are just telling us, and you're telling us you are not, but actually you are suggesting something is going on there. That is still my logic. Yeah, and so I think, okay, thank you for telling us, and you're definitely for all your success, and it is because of the oligarchs.
Okay, yeah. So yes, I think Wang Jian lied. Okay, because if you watch the show to this moment, you will know. We long said, in kleptocrats, that's how they work. They're oligarchs, right? And they have white gloves, and white gloves is helping them grab wealth from the people. They help them launder money. They help them hide the wealth, right? So that's what they do. And in order for a business to get successful, to get ahead, okay, you need capital. Right? When you grow, if you're an entrepreneur, the very first thing to grow your business is money. Okay, that's the number one rule. Whenever you go, you have a good idea, you have money, and you have people, then you can grow your business, right? And in China, in the last 4 decades, you name one organization other than Mile School. You can name how many organizations that had a growth trajectory, as successful as HNA or as Ambang, as Tomorrow's Group, as Folsom, as Wanda. Let's take a look. Like, they are pretty much all white gloves. 99% of them. They're white gloves of the Chinese CCP kleptocrats, oligarchs, because oligarchs own the country. Once you are successful, they want a part of you. They want you to work with them because they do not allow people to have a private, to earn money and keep to themselves. Remember, the communists, it's about abolish private ownership, right? That's their fundamental core principle. So those oligarchs will not allow you to own money unless you're owning money for them. That's the essence of a communism. Okay, that's the essence of the danger of the communism coming to the world. And so Wang Jian completely lied, but he wanted to tell Xi. He wanted to tell those decision makers and leaders in the government, okay, to say, we don't dare to cling on any oligarchs, because all those ones that cling on the oligarchs, like what we did in the 5 years corruption anti-campaign, they all end badly. Which that's true, and I will show you just one example of that, and that's absolutely true. Okay, but Hainan HNA is absolutely clinging to the oligarchs, which is Wang Qishan, but they just don't want the Xi to know that, so they lied. Okay, so the next slide 13, the reporter said, has HNA passed the darkest moment So the reporter is referring to the eventful year of 2017. A public opinion even compared HNA to the other conglomerates in China, such as Tomorrow Group, such as Anbang, which you will see. The reporter mentioned that Wang hated the comparison between HNA and Tomorrow's Group and Anbang, and he was little emotional. So the reporter was describing Wang Jian when the reporter asked him and commented that HNA look a lot like HNN and Anbang and Tomorrow's Group, and Wang Jian demonstrated a little bit emotion at the time and sat up straight again and during the conversation. So this is a side note that the reporter put it in the article, and then below that is Wang Jian's direct response. So Wang Jian said, there is a fundamental difference between HNA and them. They are mainly engaged in insurance and finance, but HNA is primarily involved in industry, which is a fundamental difference. Okay, so Nico, do you have any comments on the response?
I feel like because sometimes your words can lie, but your body movements can't really lie. It is really how you really feel about the situation. And I think, as you mentioned about, to me actually, you said Wu Xiaohui in Anbang, and his what happened to him is he's been put in the jail for 18 years, and he has to pay 10.5 billion. And then like Xiao Jianhua from the Tomorrow's Group, and he's also being in prison in 13 years. So I'm thinking about that's why Wang Jian doesn't want to be compared with them, because he doesn't really want, he also have this kind of very dire consequence at the end, and have that kind of a tragic kind of like fate. So that is what I.
But do you think that he lied or he telling the truth? Because he said HNA is primarily involved in industry. That's why we're different. Do you agree with what he said?
No, he lied. Definitely, he lied.
Okay. Yeah. So we all know, as you mentioned, Tomorrow's Group. Yes, they're in finance, right? They're in finance. They have banks and they have other industries and real estate or whatever. And Anbang is also, they're started with auto insurance, but they are also in hotels business. They are purchasing, properties all over the place, right? But HNA is absolutely not primarily involved in industry. HNA is basically involved in finance. They started with an airline. They're still running airline and business as a shell, as a surface, as a facade. But they are doing money laundering, transactions after transactions, the purchasing and after purchasing. And we will tell you more about what HNA did, maybe at the end of the show. But let's take a look at the slides 14, why he so emotional when the reporter mentioned Anbang and Tomorrow's Group. What happened prior to that interview? So this is to the 14th, and I wanted people to know what's happened to Anbang. And Nicole mentioned briefly, but this is what Anbang did. Okay, so in 2016, actually even started from 2014. If you're thinking about the charts about the Chinese direct foreign investment in the United States in all sectors, the charts was growing, as the year moved along close to the 2017. You see the bar. So Anbang was one of the players. And Anbang is another conglomerate that was, the founder is Wu Xiaohui, which is the son-in-law of Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping is one of the oligarchs or the kleptocrats that was the second leader right after he took power right after Mao's death, right? So Deng Xiaoping's son-in-law. So basically these people we're talking about Wu Xiaohui, the founder of Anbang, they are all second generations of those kleptocrats, right? Just like Wang Qishan. The first kleptocrats, the first generation are the Yao Yiling. And then they continued. So Anbang, these are the news that you can scan the barcode and there's tons of news if you just Google it. This is happened to coming from the Bloomberg, the first one. The second one is from Yahoo Finance. So Yahoo Finance said the China Anbang Insurance paid nearly 13 billion for Starwood, US dollars, 13 billion US for Starwood hotel chain and resorts, and is buying strategic resorts and hotels for 6.5 billion from the Blackstone Group, and which coincides with the report that up there above it from the Bloomberg. It's 6.5 billion deal and purchased a Waldorf Astoria acquisition in New York City. and luxury hotel chain, and a number of them, 16 of them actually. And then it says Blackstone Group again. Okay, whenever we see Blackstone, we see PAG, we see H&A. You should be, it's a sensitive words. You should automatically be alert because we talk about there is a money transaction triangle relationship between PAG, which is the plaintiff of Miles Guo's case, and the parent company of the PAG, and then Blackstone, and then H&A. Okay, they are basically money laundering schemes through these triangle and transactions. Here again, Anbang is purchasing it from the Blackstone, which this is really interesting. It's which bought by the U.S. luxury hotel group just 3 months ago. So that means Blackstone just bought those hotels just 3 months ago, and then sold it 3 months after to Anbang. Okay, I don't know what kind of a transaction deal. Maybe it's normal for them. I don't know. But then how Wu Xiaohui ended is exactly, it's a part of the fate of the white gloves. They don't end well. No one does. No one does. That's why Wang Jian does not want to even compare with it. He's scared. He's already knows she might look closely to H&A. So as the chairman of the H&A, he trying to deflect the attention away from H&A. So don't compare to us. We're very, very different. We're industrial based company, which they are not. But Wu Xiaohui was sentenced to 18 years in 2018 March. Okay, right before 4 months. Actually, 4 months before Wang Jian's death. It's March 3rd. His trial just started, and a sentencing started, and then they sentenced him for fraud. For fundraising fraud, for raising capital, fraud in raising capital, and embezzlement, millions and millions and billions of dollars. So he sentenced to 18 years and plus, Nicole, you said 10.5 billion fine. So they confiscated all the earnings that he has made in the past. So that's the fate of one of the white gloves, Wu Xiaohui. And tomorrow's group, Xiao Jianhua, we have already touched in the last episode, so we're not gonna repeat. Xiao Jianhua disappeared in the luxury hotel on January 27th, 2017. Okay, that's why Wang Jian does not want it to be compared with this two group, because they know these are clean to the oligarchs, exactly as he said. So the very first sentence he told the reporter has partial truth into it, because they are truly clumped to the oligarchs, and they don't end well. Okay, so Wang Jian knew it. And that's why he said, no, we don't clump to any oligarchs, because if we do, we will end it like them, which that's truth basically realized on Wang Jian. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. So slide 15, Wang Jian told the reporter that it was he who proposed to donate all the equities of the funding shareholders back to the company. So he told the reporter of the China Economic Weekly, it was me that proposed to donate all the equity of the funding shareholders back to the company after I died or resigned. Between 2011 and 2013, he told the reporter he did lots of persuasion work with the other funders. What do you think, Nicole? Why he said it's me? Maybe it's true, but why he emphasized on that?
I think basically he kind of want to say, I don't want money, and I want to be out. I want to be clean, and I do not want to have the dire kind of like miserable fate like Wu Xiaohui or Xiao Jianhua. That's what I'm feeling, and I feel he's definitely can sense, and his life is in danger, and he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to end up in the jail, and I think for him, maybe just giving out the money, if he can save his life, he will do it. That's how I feel.
Okay, so absolutely, I think absolutely, I don't think it's him. And I say that very clearly because why? Because remember in the previous episode, I'm not sure whether you were here or not, maybe it was prior you joined me. Remember when we talked about the ownership transfer from Guanjun to Hainan Cihang? So before that, there's another gentleman, which is Indian American business person. If you recall, his name is called Bihais. So Bihais used to holding this 17.4% of HNA share. And he started holding it in 2004. And he said at that time, he was holding the share at the request of the senior management because at that time that they already wanted to create a charity down the road. But they don't want any Chinese people to hold it because the government, will checking in terms of the funds, and there's more regulation and laws to comply. So choosing a foreigners to hold this money in a trust for later on charity things, arrangements down the road, that's why he was chosen. Basically, he trying to explain. So he mentioned 2004. So that means quite a while ago, this whole thing has been already planned, right? So that's why the Beehives hold this share, this large number of HNA's share, for a number of years, from 2004 until 2016, until he transferred all of them to Guanjun. And then Guanjun in later years, in 2017, transferred to Zihang. So this long-term planning has been put in place by someone very, very early on. So, and he said he proposed to donate. I doubt it, because the kleptocrats has already made a plan, especially Wang Qishan, because we know he has know-how, right? He is a financial czar. Like, he accumulated so much knowledge about those schemes and transactions or whatever, and that look legitimate but really is not. So he knows how to do it, and he planned it a long time ago, and he has all those network and people that he know that could help him to executing this. So I feel he had to say that it was me. So the implication cannot be pointed at his real boss or master, Wang Qishan. So that's why he emphasized to the reporter, okay, this is the only chance he has, because this is the only interview that he has in 25 years to say that I proposed to donate all the equities to the founding shareholders back to the company. And I persuaded them. So it has to be someone to say that. And who will be the best person to say that if that person will be died, in 2 or 3 months' time? Because you can't check, you can't verify anymore. So that's just what I think. But you don't have to agree with me, Nicole. So.
No. I think it makes so much more sense. Yeah.
Okay, so it's already 2 o'clock. We started at 2, so maybe we finish this, and because we may not be able to, maybe we finish the interview and then we'll leave the last couple to the next show. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, that slide number 16, Wang Jian said, it's hard to do business. Cannot be doing well or poorly. Doing well, someone will come and rob you. Doing poorly, someone will harm you. If people with ulterior motives come to harm you and rob you, do you give or not give? You tell me what to do. And then the next one, the reporter responded to his saying. The reporter said, so the slide 17 said, is establishing the Hainan Zihang Charity Foundation a way out? Okay, so, and Wang Jian did not answer. So what does it make you think in terms of the part that Wang Jian told the reporter? It's hard to do business. That's the slide number 16.
Oh, I feel he wants to say something.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not saying it directly. I feel but also in some way he wants to show he is the man who is doing all the real work, the actual work. I feel here maybe show some of his loyalty as well. Yeah, that's
yeah, because I think here from what the published information from that interview, I think this is the only part that Wang Jian probably truly said something that he really meant to say. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a previous saying that he has to say. He has to say to the right leader, to the right person. He has to, because he was asked and requested to say that. Okay, he's trying to help Wang Qishan, to relieve the pressure. Okay, so but here the sentence he said, I feel that he actually meant to say that himself. This is basically he's crying for the sadness, the reality those white gloves facing. Okay, and he admit that it's hard to do business. It's hard to become a white gloves. This is what I'm thinking he's thinking. It's so hard to be a white gloves. You cannot doing too good and you cannot doing too bad. If you're doing too good, someone will come and rob you. So if you are too successful as a white gloves, the other kleptocrats will come over knocking your door, and there will be a bloody political fight. Again, whose turf is that? Okay, anybody wants to make money. So if you're too successful, you're gonna be, you're gonna be the one that people finding trouble with. But if you're doing too poorly, someone will harm you. If you're not, basically, someone will get rid of you because you've not done well. You are recruited or cultivated, to work for your masters for a very specific purpose. If you're not doing well, you're going to be get rid of. If you know too much, you will be silenced, basically. If you don't know too much, that's good. You can walk away, but they will dump you, right? So if people with ulterior motives come to harm you and rob you, do you give or not give? So I've been put in this position. It's hard for me to choose. What do I need to do? I think I truly see some of the things that he wants to say, but he cannot say that directly. But in this part, and he said, you tell me what to do. So the next part, the reporter then asked, is establishing the Hainan Zihang Charity Foundation is a choice? I don't think it is. That's why Wang Jian did not answer, and he kept his silence. What do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, I think, I can felt his kind of very complex emotions, and I think what you said definitely makes so much sense and so enlightening. I feel, and I think at that point he's kind of like trying to seeking for a way out, but actually there's no way out, and I think his answer kind of not answering it. By not answering it, actually, it's kind of like showing his tragic kind of like fate, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think that's the only moment in the public moment that people gets to know Wang Jian. But he is very sad. I mean, I feel like all of them are victims. All of those white gloves are victims, although they've helped the kleptocrats done so much damage to their own country, to their own country's people, and to other countries as well. But they are the victims of the evil regime, the kleptocrats, oligarchs, and that's why we say they're the root cause of everything, of humanitarian crisis and all evil. So, giving the right system, giving the right environment, I think the best and brightest man like Wang Jian, what grow into someone like we know in the West. They're truly entrepreneurial. They're truly successful in their own line of chosen. Like, we see Elon Musk, like we see Jobs, so we see all those people and we can see more and more. But in China, so sad. We don't have any of those. Miles is a miracle because he left China so early on. He connected himself with the world in 1990s. He's already in the United States. That's why he survived. That's why he can survive, is because if you stayed in China, if you stayed in the system, you will be buried. And just like Wang Jian, just like many other that in the show that we mentioned about Wu Xiaohui, about Xiao Jianhua, none of them deserve what they've deserved if they grow up in a completely different country. So that's the sad part, and that's why the new Chinese wanted to rebuild the system. We wanted to get rid of the CCP because they do not represent us, and they've only victimize us. So that's why we say no. And Miles is saying no, and we're following Miles. And we couldn't finish this because there's some key elements, there's some key events happened right after that interview and prior to Wang Jian's death. So in June, there's a number of events that happened. We have not have a time in today's show to focusing on, but we will come back in our next episode to pick those 2 slides, and then we will dive into the death of Wang Jian. And we will talk more details about it. So that's it. That's for today's show. So thank you very much, Nicole, for your contribution. And thank you, KK, for your OBS support. And thank you, our audience, for tuning in this afternoon. So I see you next Monday. Yes, Monday, 1 p.m.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
我们更加可怕的发现了一个重大事件，原来他们曾经的策划可不是要杀王建一个人啊！里边当初他们设计师准备搞车祸在法国，他们这个计划是在什么时候发生的？他是在5月份开始的。5月份，他想把王建弄死在津巴布韦，还有一个叫做非洲叫做国家是什么？叫什么？赞比亚是什么地方一个国家？想弄死在那儿，还是准备当时要安排王建请他妻子和儿子和杨光和王伟。带他们去什么非洲大草原这都安排过，包括参加法国这个高尔夫球赛，就利用这几个活动让他们一起参加，然后制造车祸死。